and donate. So definitely continue this conversation. I want to now pivot to President Pinkard and get your reaction to President Obama's remarks, as well as how your institution at Wilberforce is pivoting in this COVID moment.
Great. Thank you, Kwame. And again, I will echo my colleagues and thanking you all for this opportunity to speak with you and to be a part of this discussion. For me, I think President Obama's, what his comments did, what his participation in the celebration did was he centered African-American students in ways that they are not typically centered. He focused the world on our students and their accomplishments. That's not often done, and it does not often happen for these students. In many ways, our students operate at the margins. We know that they are good. We know that they're talented. We know that they are sources of incredible potential, but the world does not. And just as been noted that our institutions operate at the margins and people are not aware of the power and potential of our institutions, so too our students. And so to have this incredible statesman, this incredibly admired individual from around the world, focus his comments on African-American students who were graduates of HBCUs, I think was just a very, very important and proud moment for them. The other thing that he did is he lifted a lot of the fear that, as my colleague at Morehouse calls this COVID moment, he lifted the fear. And he said to these young people in ways that were challenging, you can do this. You will get past this. Your talent and your intellect will embolden you to be better, and you will take advantage of this time. And don't be fearful, don't be afraid of it. In fact, take it as an opportunity to show the world what you're capable of doing. And so this was, in my mind, a psychological moment, psychosocial, emotional moment for our students in terms of having this incredible individual, human being, focus his attention and his comments and his wisdom on them and on them alone. The work that we're doing at Wilberforce is not unlike the work that's happening at all other colleges and universities. We have had to pivot immediately to distance learning, to a virtual learning modality. And we recognize now that we're going to have to follow the science. And it is quite possible that in the fall, we may have to do that in ways that perhaps we did not anticipate. And so we are looking to be as creative, and we're looking to be able to replicate the richness of what colleges and universities provide, particularly HBCUs, and how can we replicate that in a virtual environment. One of the things that we've said at Wilberforce is that maybe it's time to rethink even the language. Distance learning, online learning has had a kind of, has occupied a very strange space in the academy. And traditionalists have oftentimes viewed distance learning and online learning as less than face-to-face. And so what we've said is, since this is going to be our new normal, let's reimagine even the language. Let's now talk about virtual learning and what that means, and virtual learning platforms and virtual learning modalities. It's a way of sort of expanding what is available to us in terms of teaching and learning. And so we are continuing to have those conversations. We're just at the beginning of these discussions, as is everyone else, because all of this is new, and all of this is, to use a well-worn word right now, unprecedented, but it is. And we don't know what the future will hold. What we do know is that there are generations of African-American and other students of color that can use what we do, that can be empowered by what the HBCU does and has done for almost 200 years. And Kwame, I was just struck by your introduction when you mentioned that you had been influenced by HBCUs. I oftentimes say, and I challenge anyone to counteract this, that every African-American alive has been influenced by an HBCU. either directly or indirectly, either someone that you've known, someone immediately in your family. But these institutions have been so integral to the history of our people in this nation that you can extract who we are as a nation and how we have imprint our life here in this part of the Atlantic from our institution. So this is a moment. I like the language that Brother Thomas has used. I like the COVID. This is a moment, and we can take advantage of this moment. We have two choices. We can be emboldened by this moment and recognize what we're able to do with this moment as an opportunity, or we can be sidelined and we can be paralyzed by this moment. I choose to be emboldened and to recognize that we can now reimagine everything that we have done, and also recognize that the world as we have known it will never exist again. It is a new normal, and we have an opportunity to define what that new normal is.
Thank you, President Pinkard. As we think about that, what I like to call the next normal, President Pinkard, tell us, how can we help briefly?
I would echo what my colleagues have said and say that we need to recalibrate the narrative about HBCUs. We need to tell this powerful story about these incredible institutions. And we also need to encourage our young people to attend HBCUs. One of the ways that an institution can demonstrate to the world its vitality and its sustainability is a robust enrollment. That is, it suggests that individuals, prospective parents, and students view this institution as a viable alternative. And so while you may not be able to send us resources, financial resources, you can certainly send us your students. And so that's important to the extent that we say to students, HBCUs are an important and a very real and viable option for you. But I think my colleagues have said it all. I don't think I can amplify on that at all. And so I thank them for leading the way on that. But let's just make sure that the messaging around HBCUs is a positive one, because we are, in fact, an incredible group of institutions that have done incredible things for less. We don't have to continue to do with less. We should be able to do with more. And as I oftentimes say when I'm speaking to individuals, you know what the difference is between Wilberforce and Harvard, in addition to maybe 200 years in terms of existence? Finances. If I had the resources, and I'm sure that my colleagues would say, if we had the resources that a Harvard has, just imagine what we would be able to do. And as my colleague, Brother Martin, has indicated, excellence costs. It is not inexpensive. And so to the extent that we have access to those resources, we can continue to be excellent institutions in the 21st century and beyond.
Thank you, President Pinkard, for helping us to figure out how to level that playing field.